I've got my foundation plan laid out here pretty much. I've got some dimensions on it. And so let's talk about those. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, that across the top you should probably at least have a dimension that starts from the back side of the brick ledge to the back side of the brick ledge, which comes out to the length of your main floor, right? The main floor of your building is 98 feet long, and that dimension should match up with the back side of your brick ledge. Because we're putting a 4-inch brick ledge around the building, you should have another dimension that's outside to outside of the brick ledge, which should be 8 inches larger than that. So you should have those two dimensions across the top. Over at the ends, then, we should identify that brick ledge. We talked about that yesterday, of how to put that dimension in there and modify that dimension so it actually has the word brick ledge on it. When you put in a small dimension that's less than a foot, oftentimes it comes out with 0 feet 4 inches. Click on the dimension itself, edit the type. Down under unit format, under text, unit format, click on this box over here, and there should be an area where it says suppress 0 feet. You have to uncheck use project settings and get it. And again, that is something that if you created your own drawing template that you start from, because you're doing a lot of a certain type of building, you might go and make that template and have those things all preset for you before you even start. But since we didn't do that, we'll address it. Okay, so on the end of a building, again, we'll talk about dimensioning. We have this center bearing wall. So again, I dimensioned from the back of the brick ledge to the center of the center bearing to the back of the brick ledge should be 26 and 26. That should match up with your first floor. The overall of that should be 52 feet, and then another dimension to the overall of the entire outside of brick ledge should be 52.8. I want it to the center, yeah. In some cases, in concrete or masonry construction, you dimension the edges of walls. In this case, we're not going to. We're going to dimension to the center of it. But if you did dimension to the edge of it, that wouldn't be wrong either. Then, of course, we have our vestibule sticking out on the front, so we do have to address that. And in my case, it's 7'4". What is yours? Okay. So across the bottom, we would have a row of dimensions that's from outside to outside to outside going across the front because of that bump out. And in the middle here, again, I addressed those brick ledges just to make sure that that's clear. And through the middle of the building, again, we have to go from back side of brick ledge, which is the top of foundation, to the end of our wall where the pad footing is, to the opposite pad footing, and then to the other edge again. The end of that wall is centered on the pad footing. Correct.
That's not to the brick ledge, that's tall brick.
If you think about it, you're dimensioning the top of the foundation. The brick ledge is down 4 inches from that. And so you want to relate that the top of that foundation is the same on the foundation plan as it is on the main floor plan, and that the brick ledge sticks out from that. Okay, so that's basically most of our dimensioning. And as you can see here, I've gone ahead and put in one of my patios, just to show you how we're going to address the patios. So I put in one of our patios. In this case, I'm supporting the corner of that patio. I'm not actually supporting the patio. I'm supporting a column that's going to go up and support a deck off of the second floor, which is also going to be up there. So we have a pier footing, which is a 12-inch diameter by 48-inch deep pier footing. That's basically just they auger a hole in the ground and fill it with concrete, pretty much is what it is, right? It might be considered a caisson, right? It's a small caisson, but it could be considered that. You'll notice that my bump out, or the vestibule, sticks out 7'4", but I'm only making my patios 6 foot. And in fact, it's from brick ledge back of brick ledge to center of the pier is 5'10", but the patio is actually 6 foot. Okay, so let's talk about, let's go close this view. Let's go back and look at our first floor plan. And here's where I actually put the patio in. So we'll put the patio in here. In this case, on my particular plan, you all might have a little bit different dimensioning, but on my plan, my living room dimension you can see was 16'8". Now I don't know what yours is. Yours is probably something different than that, and that's okay. But I made my patio line up on the center of that wall so I don't have to redimension the length of it. Otherwise, if I make that patio a little bit smaller, then it gets kind of messy for dimensioning it. So is that that makes it easier for me as a drafter. It probably also makes it easier for the builder, doesn't it? He doesn't have a lot of dimensions to look at. It's already dimensioned there because it lines up on the center of the wall. 16'8" is not an uncommon number, so that works out well. And I guess I made my patio 6'4" from the wall sheathing to the outside edge of the patio. Okay, so it's actually at 1 foot less than the vestibule sticks out. So it doesn't line up with the face of the vestibule, it sets back a foot. Okay, so let's go put one in over here. So in order to put a patio on the main floor, they're just a concrete slab basically, right? So we'll go to the architecture tab, or in your case probably the home tab. Go to floors, and we're going to pick a floor concrete slab 4 inches thick. And then we're just going to go and use some lines, and we're going to create that. Now I should go and see my building as thin lines so that I can pick those points. I want to pick the back side of the sheathing line, right? So in this corner here, I'll pick that corner. I'm going to go over and pick the center of this wall, and I don't know exactly where that's at, and it probably somewhere in there. I'm going to come out 6'4". Okay, so I've drawn it on there. I want to verify where it's at, so it's on level first floor. The height is 0 offset from the first floor. So that looks right. It's level with my first floor. This might be a case where in some projects you might say, well, I don't want it right level with the first floor, and maybe I want to drop it an inch, just so that it wouldn't have a moisture issue. But since we're a handicap building, it should be level with that first floor. So we'll leave it there. But on different buildings, you might want it up or down a little bit. When we go to putting our decks on the second floor, we're going to do that. We're going to set it down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to finish that then. And my patio is in there. I'm going to go back to my foundation plan to do that. Just to show you, it shows up here. And if we do a quick section through that, here. There's some, we'll talk about this issue that walls aren't showing up here in a minute. But here is that patio slab right there. And you can see it sits in on my brick ledge. So when I highlight that blue line, it's sitting right in on my brick ledge, and it goes out. Okay? So the question about things not showing up on this view has to do with the fact that it's a structural plan, the foundation plan is. And if I go over here to my properties, and there's under identity data, there's view template. And on view template, it says none. And if I were to change that to, let's see, architectural section, now I see all of those walls. Okay. since this is a structural plan, foundation plan is S1, it's a structural plan, they're only showing structural components of the building. So I'll do a couple of things here. I went and changed, by going from the view, if I go and go down to my view template, which was defaulted to none, if I change that to architectural section, it then shows things that are architectural. I'm going to undo that again, and I'm going to go back to my first floor plan. And actually, is this outside wall, is that outside wall actually a structural wall? It's supporting the roof and trusses and stuff. If I go over here to the structure and I tell it that's going to be a structural wall, now I go back to my foundation plan and I click on that detail. There's my wall, because now it's a structural wall, so now it shows up on the structural detail. Okay? So it's a way of Revit hiding things for you that you don't want to see that are non-structural versus structural. So maybe our exterior wall should have been structural, so we could have had them show up on the structural plan. Not a big deal, it could be done either way. Let's, I'm just going to undo that just so it goes back to where it was. And let's go back to the foundation plan. I got my slab in there. Now I need to support that corner of the slab, because on the second floor we're going to have some decks coming out above this one, right? And those decks have to be supported by some columns. And so we need a pier footing under that. Let's go to structure, columns. You should find a concrete round column 12-inch diameter. If it's not in there, you may have to go load the family. So if it doesn't show up on yours, you go to load family, you go to structural columns and concrete columns and round concrete column, right? And you'd load that into your project. Since I already have it in there, I'm not going to do that. Then we have that round column, and I'm not sure why Revit did this, but normally it would give us the level to put it at. You know, if we went over to edit the type, I don't see anywhere where it tells me level. And I'm not sure why it did that. It must be something in Revit. But I need that column, and I need to know where to put it. If I go to edit the type, it doesn't give me any options there. So I'll go back to, I'm just going to have to go over here and place one. So I'm just going to go and stick one in there. It's going to tell me that it won't show up because I'm on the foundation plan, because I don't know where it put it. If I go and look at my building from the first floor plan, I'll probably see it. There it is, right? And this is a case where now if I click on it, now it tells me where it's at. So in my opinion, that's a glitch in the Revit program, but now I can tell it, okay, I want the base level of that to be at bottom of footing, and I want the top level to be foundation, and I want the top offset to be what? Minus the thickness of the slab, -4. Apply that. It disappears on my first floor plan, but if I go back to my foundation plan, there it is. Okay, so then we just have to go back to my foundation plan and get it in the right position. So now I want to go dimension it from the top of foundation to the center of it. And according to the one I put in over here, it should have been 5'10". So I can change that to 5'10". And then going the other way, it should have been 16.2. And pull that out so it lines up with that one. Okay, so now I have it exactly like the one on the opposite side. I have this call out over here and I want it over here as well. Can I mirror that column? The call out? Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is the default leader arrowhead is this open leader arrowhead, and I don't like that one. So can I change that? If I click on that and I go to edit the type, under leader arrowhead it defaults to an arrow 30 degree. If you click that line, you can change it to a filled 15 degree, and that's the more common one for me anyway. And now they will all be that when I put them in. Okay. So all you do is you click on the leader that you put in there, go edit the type, and under leader arrowhead, change it to an arrow filled 15 degree. Okay. So as we just discussed, I want to put this same patio on the back. Since I mirrored those units over, that unit should be exactly in the same location. So if I click on these items, hold the control key down and select that, and I can select the dimension, and I can select this dimension, and I can mirror that off the center of this wall. For some reason it didn't want to mirror that dimension. Let's try that again. Let's click on that dimension. Yeah, it doesn't want to mirror that dimension for some reason. And if it doesn't, not a big deal. I can go redimension it, right? And I'm lining it up with the other dimension so that it looks nice and neat. Okay, so let's talk about this pier that I put in here, and why didn't I need a pier over on this corner, on the corner next to the vestibule? The beam that's going to run across the front of this patio on the second floor is going to tie into the wall of the vestibule, right? So it'll be sitting on studs within the wall, coming out and sitting on the post on the other corner. So therefore I only need a post out here because the beam ties into the wall on the back, just like the joists tie into the wall where the patio door is, right? Because the patio is sitting on the brick ledge, now what about the brick that are going down onto the brick ledge? Right. And this is a case where the patio could get poured and then the brick could come over and sit on top of the slab. Right, and as far as the detailing, we can do that when we do the cross section. Okay, so but the one on the back here now, this one does not have a vestibule to attach to, so I'm going to have to take this pier and I should mirror it from the center of the patio. If I mirror it, it goes to the exact right spot on the other side. And now this dimension doesn't work anymore because that was to the outside of the slab. I need to probably delete that dimension and redimension that from center to center. And from center to like that, right? Okay, now if we go back and look at our first floor plan, does that patio look like it's in the right spot? Yes, but it doesn't line up with the center of this wall, which creates maybe a dimensioning issue. So what is that distance? Three inches. So I could put a dimension on there that goes from the edge of the patio to the center of this wall like this, and I could put that dimension in there, which is one way of doing it. The other way would be to make that patio 3 inches bigger, so it goes right up to that center of that wall, right? Either option works for me. I don't care which way you want to do it. Now this patio on this unit, which is a 1-bedroom unit, is not a mirrored one from the front one because that unit is a different size. We could actually just go back to the foundation plan. We could put an underlay on. The first floor. I could take this unit here and copy it from that location to... So now I've got it over there. If I go back to my first floor plan. There it is, right? Okay. Now I'd probably have to do some, I've lined it up on the dimension here, and again I probably have to throw in another dimension from, just to verify that. And maybe I want to change that or not. I don't know. Okay. And make sure you get those piers in there. Once you get this, these things that I've been talking about completed on your plan, the next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that this works out on your sheet, right? So you want to go down and find your foundation sheet, which is, it defaults to S0 on here. Well, I don't believe in S0s. I think it should be S1, S2, S3. I don't know why Revit uses zeros, but I want to change that foundation plan to S1. Well, I can't change it to S1 because there's a first floor framing that's S1 and a second floor framing that's S2 and a roof framing that's S3. We're not going to do a first floor framing plan or a second floor framing plan or a roof framing plan. So I'm going to have to delete one of these. So let's the other thing I could do is I could take this one, S3, I could rename it S4. I could take S2, rename it S3. I could take S1, rename it S2. And then I can take my foundation, rename it S1. Okay, so now my foundation is S1. So that's a way of not deleting anything. Now S1 doesn't have anything on it. It has the wrong title block. I can click on my title block and change it to my title block that I want. Then I can go and drag on my foundation plan. Okay. Now that all looks nice, except that the one problem I have here is this just says foundation and I want it to say foundation plan. Okay, change the name in the project browser. So here, rename this. And I've decided I want them all to be in capitals, so now I said okay that I wanted to change all of the information that way, and what did that do to something like I look at my south elevation, Now this says foundation plan. I don't want that, right? So I should undo that. And now when I click on foundation, rename it, and I call it foundation plan, and I say okay, I say no here. And now that doesn't change.
What if you wanted that to say top of foundation?
Now if I change this, rename this to I could do something like that, top of foundation, right? Now that says top of foundation. Now I can go over here and find my top of foundation, rename this, and say no. Now this one stayed top of foundation, and my sheet says foundation plan. So I could have clicked right here and renamed it there. Yep. And it'll give me that same warning, probably, huh?